Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I want to talk about The Walking Dead Dead City, and I'll talk about the other shows as well, but I really want to focus on Dead City in this video here because we actually got official casting for season 2, and it's very, very exciting. There's been a new character cast, and we don't have a lot of details yet, but what we do know is that this character is going to be a pretty big character here, and I believe, yeah, I'm reading it right now, this character is going to be a series regular. So this is going to be a really, really big part here of season 2, and this character could be a part of season 3. And I actually do want to talk about if the casting could be, I mean, I don't know, it could seem a little silly, but I do want to talk about the idea of Negan having a brother. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now, I'm only going to be able to have this video out today. I'm hoping that I feel better tomorrow. I just haven't been feeling the best today, so I just wasn't able to do a lot of videos, and I have a bunch of stuff planned. I mean, I have like 15 to 20 ideas just like literally right in front of me right now, but yeah, obviously we do have a lot of time to get into that, so hopefully I'll feel better, and then tomorrow obviously I'll get back on it and whatnot, and yeah, so just the one video today. So if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this, then make sure to be a subscriber. But let's get into the casting here. So this comes from Deadline, actually, and if you read what it says right here, it says exclusive. Sons of Anarchy alum Kim Coates, if I'm saying his name right, is joining the season 2 cast of The Walking Dead Dead City as a new series regular opposite Lauren Cohen and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Details are being kept under wraps, but we hear it's a pivotal role. So obviously, you know, this is really exciting casting because the actor obviously is from Sons of Anarchy. I've never watched the show. I've seen a lot of scenes. I know of the show. I know like a lot of people who've watched the show, and I'm very, very aware of it. It's basically like, imagine if someone hasn't watched The Walking Dead yet. I mean, I guess it's a little different because Sons of Anarchy, that ended a while ago, but just imagine if like someone hasn't watched The Walking Dead yet. I mean, you're going to be aware of The Walking Dead, right? Like there's no way you're not going to be aware of it. That's sort of my knowledge of it, though I've watched a lot of scenes here and there, and I'm aware of some of the storyline and all that. Like but obviously I haven't watched the show. So that is something I do want to do because obviously I think Ryan Hurst, I believe, is from that show. There's a lot of cast, I believe, from Sons of Anarchy that are actually on The Walking Dead or just in the Walking Dead universe in general. So that's you know, this casting here is very, very exciting, and obviously the character that he's going to be playing is going to be, I mean, first of all, it's a series regular, right? So it's going to be a bigger role, and apparently it's a pivotal role in this season. So when you look at what the story is going to be here, I mean, Negan right now is obviously with the Dama, right? And he's being forced to basically help out New York City and maybe surrounding areas. And basically, the Dama, I think, wants to gather a bunch of communities and just sort of make them all, or I guess just like own a bunch of communities. Like she just kind of wants to grow her empire, basically, right? And she believes that Negan is going to be the one to help her do that, which I think obviously like that just makes a lot of sense to me, right? Like if you saw somebody like Negan, right, and you just saw how charismatic he was and just the way he is with people, just kind of in general, like you can see how, yeah, he definitely has leadership qualities, right? And so you know, in terms of the other story, like Maggie is obviously back at the bricks and Herschel is back there, and she's going to focus on just being a mother right now, right? And just focus on Herschel. So that's basically her story. There is other story, you know, happening with like New Babylon and all of that. So it's possible that that sort of comes into play in all of this here, but I do think that they cast this character specifically because I think he would work really, really well just in terms of chemistry with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And that's where it kind of, you know, I got kind of excited thinking about the possibilities of like, what if Negan actually had a brother? I don't know if there was an episode, like I know that there was Here's Negan, but like maybe in that episode that they said that he was like an only child or something like that. I have no idea, but I was really thinking about it, you know, like, yes, Rick Grimes does have a brother in the comic, right? And in the comic, he's never mentioned. Like, I think Laurie has one line in like issue 3 about his younger brother, Jeff, or something like that. And Rick never talks about him, never talked about him at all, and literally like the entirety of the Walking Dead comic never mentioned that he had a brother, right? In the show, it's sort of the same thing, and I think though, you know, with TV, it is a little different where I think if you were to like introduce the idea that Rick had a brother, people would view that as like desperate, right? They'd be like, oh, you're just desperate for ratings and all of that because Andrew Lincoln maybe doesn't want to do Rick Grimes every single year kind of thing, right? So I think that's a big reason why they don't really do the Jeffrey Grimes storyline, unless there was a line mentioned like a long time ago in like the first season or something like that, right? Even if it was like one line. And again, the character is a thing in the comic, like they could get away with it, but you just know how people are going to kind of view that, right? So that's why I'm like, I don't know. But in terms of, you know, Negan actually having a brother, I think it would be kind of interesting, you know, just because a lot of characters I don't think can really have siblings or anything like that right now, because obviously like we met them pretty much from the beginning, like Daryl obviously has an older brother, and then Maggie, she has other siblings and stuff. And it's like, you can't really introduce the idea that a lot of these like iconic, core characters of the cast have like, a brother or sister or something like that, right? But with Negan, I feel like you probably could do that. Like that is something I think a lot of people would probably get on board with, because it is something that is very, very interesting. I do think with the casting of Kim Coates, if I'm saying his name right, like, I mean, he could, pull off the role. Like he could definitely do that. Now, do I think they're going to do that? Probably not, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up because I feel like, that would be something that would be really interesting. And I feel like out of all of the characters in the Walking Dead universe, the one character you could probably do that with is Negan, because here's Negan. We learned a lot about the character, but there's still so much about his backstory that we don't really know a lot of, right? But I think that, if you were to have a brother, I mean, that would just make a lot of sense. And just based off of who he is, it makes sense that he would just never talk about him, or like maybe they just really don't like each other, right? So I think it could work. It definitely could work. But again, the casting here is really incredible. I really can't wait to see just what happens with all of this here. We're probably going to get a teaser, in the next couple of months. At Comic-Con, we'll probably get something, I'm assuming, because they are going to be filming, I think, this week. It's this week or early next week. Actually, the week's almost over. So yeah, I think it's next week on Monday or Tuesday. They start filming for The Walking Dead, Dead City Season 2. So that's where it's going to be a lot of fun. And I will say you're going to have to watch for spoilers for that, because, whenever they're filming, it's just the spinoffs. Like, I know this used to be a thing with The Walking Dead a long time ago, where whenever they would film, there would be like set photos and all that stuff that would get posted and all that, because, fans were just so interested in what they were doing. And then towards the end, there wasn't a lot of interest. So it kind of died down quite a bit. But with the spinoffs, it's been like completely rejuvenated. People have been so excited about just seeing anything from any of these shows here. And Dead City, I know Dead City is a show that people aren't the biggest fans of. Like, I do kind of, I understand it, because if you look at the story, it is very simple. But for me, I really do like the show. And the reason why I like the show is because it is very grounded in what the apocalypse is. You're in New York City. You're just sort of literally in the sewers of New York City. Like, that is the sort of vibe that the story has. And it's really, really interesting. It's really entertaining. And I think that, yes, it doesn't have the bigger world stuff that like Daryl Dixon and The Ones Who Live has. But I think that's where, that's where they could probably fix, some of the story here in season 2. And I will say that's probably the next big part to it too, or a big complaint about all of it, is like the casting and the characters. Like, yes, in season 1, the Dama was interesting. The Croat was very interesting. I did really like Armstrong as a character, but I still think overall, when you compare that cast to like the side characters and The Ones Who Live, where you have Pearl Thorne and whatnot, like it's a little different. Like I think the writing was probably better. First of all, you had really interesting characters, and also Daryl Dixon, to me, honestly, I think the side characters in that show are probably way better than in any of the shows. And I don't know, I think it's more specifically Isabel. I don't know what it is about that character, but she became a fan favorite so fast, So I think that this casting right here, I think could be that. This character could honestly be a really, really huge character here in the Walking Dead universe, but it really depends on his role in all of this and where they're going with the story. I do think in terms of some predictions for where they should go, they really have to expand it a little bit, make it a little bit more exciting. Again, I do think like if Dwight were to show up in season 2, that would be amazing. Like my predictions overall were like Dwight would show up at the end of season 2, and so he would be in a season 3. Like you kind of need a little bit more excitement like that, and you can really do that with this show. And yes, a lot of people don't like the fact that like Maggie and Negan are together, in a show, leading a show. I just think that it, like, every show offers something different, right? Like The Ones Who Live, that's Rick and Michonne, right? And that's their story. That's so different from Daryl Dixon, with Daryl and Carol. And then that show is so different from Dead City. They're all so different from each other. And I think that's why, you see a lot of fans that they like this one, or they like that one, or they're like prefer the other one or whatever. And, there's something for everyone. And I do like what they have sort of done with Dead City. I think that, yeah, just in terms of casting and some of the story, they probably should go a little bit bigger, make it a little bit more interesting. And I think that's where you can get a lot of people watching again, just to make things a little bit more interesting. I know Scott Gimple said recently that he wants to make things a little bit more grounded and all of that. So I do understand that, but I don't know, a part of me just thinks that they should definitely, yes, do that because people do like those stories. And I think The Walking Dead is sort of proof of that, or like The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. What's very interesting about that show is that it is very, very mixed in terms of how you view the show. It looks like there's like two different sides to the show. You know, there's one side that just really likes how simple the story was and the fact that it just focused on Rick and Michonne. But there's the other side that really likes the CRM stuff, right? And so the show was more focused on Rick and Michonne than the CRM stuff. I actually saw a review today posted by comicbook.com that was really interesting because basically it just kind of said that, the finale, it was rushed and it is what it is, but The Ones Who Live as a whole is still a much better show overall, just than its finale. And I do agree with that. Like, I like The Ones Who Live. I do like it. The finale definitely ruined some parts for me, but overall, I really like it. And I think what they did with Rick and Michonne in that series is amazing. Again, it is just more the CRM stuff. And I knew the story was more focused on Rick and Michonne, and that's not my complaint about it. Like, I really like what they did with that. I just think maybe you shouldn't have ended the CRM story then. Is that simple? I mean, technically they still didn't end it, but I think that they should have kept certain characters around. Because if it was truly a Rick and Michonne story, they wouldn't have killed off the CRM, right? And so, yeah, anyways, the casting here is incredible. I really can't wait to see any sort of first look at The Walking Dead Dead City Season 2. I'm really excited for this show. We're probably gonna have to wait another 10 months or something until the show comes out, but we'll get trailers and teasers and all of that. Who knows, maybe the show comes out later this year, but I'm guessing probably not. I'm assuming it's going to be February of 2025. It's going to take the same slot as The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and then Daryl Dixon will probably be out this August, and I think that they'll come out every 6 months. Like they'll always have a spinoff coming out every 6 months. At least that's my prediction. But anyways, post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.